Build the family of your dreams with Pinnacle Fertility Ohio. Our expert physician team has over 30 years of experience offering personalized fertility treatment plans tailored just for you. Get started today. Your future family awaits. Book now at rgiohio.com.
My name is Jessie. I have 4 beautiful daughters. Francesca is 6. I have identical twin daughters, Conchetta and Isabella, who we call Coco and Bella, who are 4. And I have a 2-year-old named Giada. I tried to get pregnant pretty quickly after I was married, around the age of 31, 32. Nothing seemed to be working, but you chalk it up to everybody's lives are busy. I'm working a lot. My husband's working a lot. After about a year and a half or so, we decided, let's do a little bit of intervention. We sought the advice of a local fertility doctor here in Columbus. And, without any blood work or any background, he looked at me and said, you're young, you look healthy. I think this will probably be pretty easy. He did a little blood work in the office, but sent me home with a prescription for Clomid. And about 48 hours later, I got a call from the nurse, and she said, you should just stop taking that prescription. And I said, why? And we didn't even do anything yet. And she said, well, we got your blood work back, and there's no way that's ever going to work. Your fertility age on blood work looks more like a 43 or 44-year-old. So the likelihood that you'll ever have your own child is slim. And I will never forget, I was in my garage, on my way to work, and I just sort of fell to the ground. And someone over the phone telling you, you're never going to have a baby, when that's all I ever wanted was to be a mom and have a baby. So immediately I called my husband, I called my mom. My mom raced down to Columbus from Youngstown, and we just sort of started, what are we going to do next? I'm very much I need to be in action. I wanted to know, where do we go from here? What can I do? So of course I start ordering books on the internet and calling everybody I know, looking up every doctor in town. This language was just sort of foreign to me. I didn't know what any of the abbreviations, what FSH or AMH, I didn't know what it meant. So I'm Googling things as I'm getting information over the phone from this nurse. And, I immediately sought the advice of a second doctor in Columbus who kind of led me down the same path and said, I just don't think this is in the cards for you. Then I started reaching out to people I knew in the community who I knew had been through similar things. And my friend Kate agreed to meet me for coffee. And we were friendly, but, kind of knew each other through workout class. And she had a really positive experience with this doctor in Cleveland. So we met for coffee. She gave me all the ins and outs of everything she had gone through. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put her on my list. And in the meantime, I'd reached out to doctors in other states. I'd gone to Pittsburgh and just was coming up nowhere. They would look at my statistics, if you will, and they were just like, oh, this doesn't look good. And I finally got an appointment with this doctor in Cleveland, and she was so awesome. She sat down with my husband and I, and she said, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. I'm going to tell you that I'm willing to take you on as a patient, but I would give you about a 5% chance of having a live pregnancy. And I just heard chance. I think my husband was more 5%, but I was like, that's all I needed to hear. And I just started immediately. We started going through all the protocols, and we did, had to go through all the channels. She had to try the IUIs. And of course, she knew they weren't going to work, but she's like, we need to do a step through to get to the next spot. And I basically just spent the next year and a half at the Cleveland Clinic, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I just wouldn't stop. I found sort of a little network and family up there. These girls that worked in the clinic became like family. They were really invested in my situation and my story. And, they had protocols there that, we weren't going to do a retrieval for an embryo unless you had X amount of follicles. And that was never going to happen for me. So this angel of a nurse, Laura, said to me one day after I had an appointment, she said, you only have one follicle. She's like, it's expensive to do surgery. It's hard on your body to get that, to go in there and see if there's anything there. But I'm going to advocate for you today, if you want me to, that we're just going to do it. And I'm like, if I have one, I want to do it every time. I want to go in every time as long as I have one, And I think even the doctors were a little bit like, oh, I don't think this is a great idea. And I just said, I want to do it. That's what I want to do. And from there, that was sort of my new protocol was if I have one that looks good, we're going in for the surgery. I did this, I don't even know how many times, like 6, 7, and sometimes it would be, there was nothing there when I woke up from the surgery. Sometimes there would be 1, sometimes there would be 2, and neither one of them would make it. And, you know, I just kept going. I kept thinking to myself the whole time, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to be negative. I would just smile and say, like, let me know when I can start the next round. Just let me know I'm ready. And we did this over and over and over again until I had 3 embryos. And once I got my 3rd embryo after, I don't know, 6 or 7 rounds of doing this, my doctor said, I think it's time we have to try one now. She's like, you can't keep putting your body through this. And we've got enough that I think maybe we could have one baby here. So my first attempt was having, I only put one in and got a perfectly healthy, wonderful little girl. And I thought, this is it. Like, that's all it'll be probably. And that is wonderful. I'm so content and happy. And, then you sort of get hooked. And by the time she was 1, my husband and I thought, let's have one more. Let's do one more. Let's try it one more. And my doctor said to me, like, we are not doing IVF again. Your body can't take it. I really don't think there's we got everything I think we're going to get out of you. So you have 2 chances. And if they don't work, we have to just be grateful you have a baby. And 1,000%, I was on board for that. I went in, I had another transfer done. They put in that 1 embryo. 2 weeks later, I took the blood tests, positive pregnancy. I was just like stunned, It was like everything and more that I ever wanted. And then it was March of 2020, COVID hit. And I went in for my ultrasound on March 16th. Nobody knew what was going on, but my husband couldn't come with me. They had me like wrap a scarf around my face. So because we weren't doing masks yet, but everyone was confused. And I go in to get my ultrasound and they do the ultrasound and the lady's looking at the chart and she's looking at the screen. She's looking at the chart and she's like, how many eggs did you put in? I said, just 1. And she's like, well, that's crazy because there's 2 babies in there. So my embryo split. And I had identical twins, and it was like mind blowing. I actually didn't really even conceive that could be, no pun intended, that could be a possibility. I guess I maybe heard it along the way, but I was just blown away. So then we had identical twin daughters, and our house was so crazy and so much fun. And it was just everything I ever wanted. And then fast forward to their first birthday. Wasn't feeling so great. And I found out I was spontaneously pregnant with my 4th child. It was my first pregnancy. I had never before in the 8 years I tried to get pregnant, had never had a positive pregnancy test. I never got pregnant and miscarried. I never, ever. I just never had been pregnant on my own. So I got pregnant for the first time at 40 and delivered her at 41. And she's like a miracle baby, so wonderful, so loving and happy, and she completes our family. And yeah. My advice to anyone going through this right now would be, don't stop if your first answer is no. Don't listen to every protocol along the way. I think about it all the time. If I would have listened to the protocol that, we don't retrieve unless we have 3 embryos, I would probably have no kids, or 3 follicles, I guess I should say. I probably wouldn't have any kids. I would have just taken it for face value and said, well, I didn't make it this time, or I don't have enough to do the retrieval. And I think finding someone to advocate for you and what you feel is right for you and in your heart, that your body the best. I didn't stop at the first no. I didn't stop at the second no. I didn't stop at the third no. I just kept looking for someone that was willing to help me. Infertility impacts your mental health and your relationships in a big way. It's hard. It's hard to be at that age where all your friends are having kids and your siblings are having kids, and you're watching people throw first birthday parties and you're there and you're supportive and you're just wishing it was you. It's challenging because, you want to be the best friend and the best everything you can, best spouse, but it is all encompassing. I had a hard time focusing on anything other than that. It's just you kind of narrow in and it's a little bit isolating. And I was so fortunate that my best friend from childhood lived 5 minutes from the Cleveland Clinic. So I took it as an opportunity to, have weekday sleepovers and get to be around her children more. And I didn't struggle as much with I love kids so much that I was just so grateful to be around all my friends' kids and my sister's kids as much as I could. I embraced that like auntie role, but it did sting a little bit. You just look at all these people and you're thinking, God, when's it going to be my turn? My advice to people on the outside to support people going through this is to let them know you're there, but not to ask too many questions if they don't seem like they want to talk about it. Kind of read the room. I think a lot of the things that are cliche that people say, it'll happen or just relax. And if someone really has a good experience to share, I think that's one thing. I was so lucky. I had so much support from people. Out of this experience, I gained a ton. I gained the confidence in myself to know that I can advocate for what I want and speak up to people and in situations when it's something that is really that important. I also gained this great passion for helping other women. I think one of the things that comes with infertility is stigma. And I think if we're not open about it, you can't help each other. I always remind people, like, you didn't do anything wrong. This is not something that, I understand it's sensitive, but it doesn't have to be private. I always think about the girl that helped me. If she wouldn't have been open about what she went through, I would have never known what she had been through, and I would have never found my doctor. So I have spent, countless hours with people on the phone that I don't even know, just connected through friends of friends, and they've become friends of mine, and I think about them often, and I check in on them often, and it's really given me like another purpose, because I think that the more we're vocal, the more people we can help.